Hello, good evening. My name is Odie Hawkins, and it gives me my pleasure to welcome you to another program of Radio on Video. An Odie Hawkins, Zola Salena-Hawkins production. This evening, the story is about a man who wanted to become a bullfighter, who became a bullfighter. Oh, incidentally, this is a book about the bullfight that I wrote called Matador Negro Azucarado, the second. Welcome, Zola. Welcome. You're going to show it to him?
Yes, I'm going to show it to him.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, here we go. Matador
you can buy that book, incidentally.
On Amazon, or you can just Google Odie Hawkins, and this is Matador Negro Azucar 2. There's a 1 that is about half this size. So, for those who are not avid readers.
That's a point, too. I'd like to say, I'm not an aficionado. I'm not a fanatic fan of the bullfight. But I have to say this. About 60-some years ago, I was working at the Drake Hotel in Chicago, where I'm from, and I became friends with a guy who worked in the kitchen of the Drake Hotel. He looked like the Mexican comedian Cantinflas. And he asked me one day, "Hey, kid," he called me kid, always. You ever seen a bullfight, a corrida? No, never. Chicago is where they have the biggest stockyards in the country. And at one point, I knew a couple of people who slugged cows in the head with a 16-pound sledgehammer for a living. This is before they began to execute them. Anyway, Cantinflas said, I have a ticket to see the life story of somebody named Manolete at the World Playhouse Theater.
Right.
How'd you like to go? Well, it's free. Yeah, of course. So I went to see the bullfight, and actually, as most people know, I didn't become a bullfighter.
No, you didn't.
But it gave me the idea for a story about someone who did. And they would be bucking all kind of cultural norms and going against all kind of ordinary neighborhood circumstances.
And and that's not so strange, because there's honey, and then there's Bolger. Okay,
we have a friend, a bona fide matador named Diego Bolger, who lives in San Diego now, I believe.
And then there's honey.
And Honey Haskins,
yes,
who is a member of the Aficionados de Los Angeles. It's a bullfight club in Los Angeles. The reason I hasten to explain why I wrote the book and why I am not an aficionado gets a little complicated. But let me say that I'm more interested in the ritual than I am in the actual fight itself. And when I went to see the bullfight, I wasn't turned off by it. I had seen animals killed before. Some people would like to argue that the bull going into the bull ring at least has the possibility of coming out alive if they grant the indulto, the pardon. A cow going into a slaughter pen
has no chance at all.
He's not coming out. He's not coming out alive. So, the people who favor bullfighting will say, well, at least the bull has a chance to attack the guy who's attacking him.
Oh, let me toast
you.
Yes, indeed. Toast you and toast the audience, to all those that watch. Glad to have you here.
Apple juice. No.
Tea.
Pineapple juice.
Pineapple juice.
That's good stuff.
Moroccan tea.
Moroccan tea. Anyway, the story this evening is about a torero or matador named El Encanto. El Encanto, the enchanted one. He was so good that people thought that he was enchanted. And that's all I say about that. We will now go on to
the show, which is, I think, the Sears Radio Theater. And the commercials and the news will be from the era in which it was written.
The story was first broadcast, I believe, in the 1980s. Centuries ago.
Oh, April 4th, 1980.
April 4th.
1980, yes.
1980.
Right.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm. And so...
it's called Radio on Video.
Right. And this was the Mutual Radio Theater.
Oh, the Mutual Radio Theater. Got you.
Okay, so...
I think they do Sears radio ads, but that's neither here nor there because we're not very interested in...
This is Leonard Nimoy. Our story concerns itself with one man's battle with the greatest monster any of us will ever face in any arena. His conscience. Armando Paz, better known to the afición of all the countries of the world as El Encanto, was and is Batman. Before becoming El Encanto, the Enchanted One, he was usually called Armando, or a variety of other names usually reserved to describe a poverty-stricken stealer of oranges in southern Spain, or someone who loved the art of bullfighting so passionately that he would sneak into forbidden pastures and practice survival on moonless nights. Before Armando was El Encanto, he was nobody, and he never forgot it.
Bonito Bravo, such great, beautifully formed horns, so well armed by nature that you have only the monsters in this arena to fear. They force me to kill you, a profound symbol of freedom and strength, in order for them to experience the idea of death. You are real. They are shadows, screams, moans, creatures seeking second-hand reality. The sword sinks into the muscle of your great neck like butter, and your right horn graces my groin as you make the last charge of your life. We are joined now in a warm blur, suspended in time for a second, and I feel the sensation of your horn slashing a pattern into my guts. I live. Your horns die. The screams of the monster that forces us to live on each other's blood is the same. Always the same.
And that's only the beginning of our story.
Mutual Radio Theater, a new adventure in radio listening. 5 nights of exceptional entertainment every week. Brought to you in Elliot Lewis's production of the Mutual Radio Theater. Our story, Armando Paz, El Encanto by Odie Hawkins. Our stars, Larry Moss, Tommy Cook, and Jack Crucian.
Listen, if you're an investor who's tired of being too late when investments are heading up, too late when they're heading down, listen, Barron's is the National Business and Financial Weekly published by Dow Jones. Every week, Barron's gives its readers more useful investment information than any other publication anywhere. Days, weeks, even months ahead. Every week, 34 pages of market statistics, in-depth studies of individual companies, exclusive analyses of companies and industries covering the whole world of investing, and more. Every week, all you need to know not to be too late. Every week in Barron's. And listen, if you phone 800-228-5000, you can get a year's subscription to Barron's for just $43. Phone right now, and you'll also get free an informative booklet called Understanding Technical Forecasting that shows you how to use Barron's the way the professional investors use it. A year of Barron's plus a revealing and useful booklet for only $43. Phone 800-228-5000 toll free. Now, before it's too late.
That's the way.
Life is not always easy. No one can dispute that. How many of us face death each time we go to work?
Armando Paz, El Encanto, carved his noble name onto the hearts of the bullfight public today. Fighting 3 magnificent cathedrals from the ranch of Don Julio Belmonte, he offered an incredible display of cape work. Those critics who have accused El Encanto of being stingy with his cape work in the past would not have been able to make that complaint today. He expressed himself superbly in the opening movement by executing those statuesque passes that have justly earned him the nickname El Encanto. His movement from beginning to end was illogical in the woven pattern that could only be called extravagant, but refined and above all, terribly elegant. He is...
Armando, what is wrong? Don't you enjoy hearing about yourself anymore?
I never did. But that isn't something I've been able to make you understand.
According to you, I have never been able to understand a tremendous number of things.
Please, Mira, let's not argue. Come on, sit down over here beside me. I'm tired of fighting.
Why are you so irritable these days?
I wasn't aware that I was behaving any differently.
But you are. You used to be so relaxed, so at ease with life. I remember thinking when I first met you, is it possible that this man kills wolves for a living?
How long has it been, Mira? 3 years? 3 years is a long time to be an Encanto.
But it is a choice you made in life. Why do you take it out on me?
I'm not taking anything out on you.
But you are. You bring these depressing moods into our relationship. It unnerves me. It makes me feel that I am not doing something right, that I'm failing you in some way.
Who could know that better than you?
Why do you make these sly remarks, Armando? Have I not created a beautiful lifestyle for us? Have I not made your life pleasant?
Do you think that surrounding us with all of these things, that some kind of happiness will automatically occur? Sometimes I think I was happier when I had to steal oranges for a meal.
Armando, what do you want? I don't understand. The more you have, the less satisfied you become. What the hell do you want?
I want you, Mira, amongst other things.
You have me, Armando.
That's not what I mean.
So we are back to this again.
Is that the way you think about it?
See, Armando, I have told you 1,000 times, I am yours. But I must reserve the privilege to be my own person. Why must you feel that the people around you should belong to you, body and soul?
That sounds like an odd question for someone to ask who surrendered her so-called freedom for 500,000 pesetas.
Are you a great one to talk? Think of how much of yourself you surrendered this afternoon for money.
Think about how it feels like even the possibility of being gored in the thigh, in the stomach, the armpit, maybe the eye.
For money.
No, not for money, Mira. I go to the bulls because I am cold. I am forced.
I don't understand when you say things like this. You are called to fight the bulls?
I don't know if it would be possible to explain what that means to someone who only thinks in terms of supplying demand.
Armando, for once, just for once, rather than trying to talk over my head, why don't you try to explain? Perhaps I can understand.
You really want me to try to explain, huh?
See, I'm very curious.
All right, I'll try. But first, we must place ourselves outside of this petty conversation.
I never engage myself in petty conversations.
You asked me to explain something to you. If you want that explanation, you must be patient and listen to it.
See, go on.
Good. I must explain to you what I know, what I feel in my own words. Because I haven't read the words of the people who write about my art. As a man, I am nothing, nada. I am like other men, but as a creature who confronts death in the shape of a bull many times each season, I am El Encanto.
Quite understand.
I told you you wouldn't understand.
But I did not say for you to stop.
Should I go on then?
See, of course, go on.
I am a sacrifice, you see, to a spirit in our world that is older than religion. It is older than my Uncle Juan.
Is there such a thing?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I did not mean...
I understand, Vera. I understand. Pour us some more wine.
See. There. Our best Jerez. Now, please, go on.
I say that I am a sacrifice to a spirit older than religion. This is true. The spirit is fear. And I am used by the afición, by the public to overcome something that they do not want to confront. Death. I am the woman who you are.
What?
I know it sounds incredible, but in a way, symbolically, I am the woman in the pretty clothes, flirting with the supreme symbol of manhood, using the capote and muleta as fans. And yet, every man in the arena identifies himself with me.
I wish Jose Flores could hear you now.
Jose knows this already. It is what makes his afición so great.
I can understand all of this. I can understand all of what you say, except for the part where you say you are forced to fight the bulls.
But it is true. It is my calling. If I did not do it, someone else would have to do it, and they probably would not do it half as well.
So, you think of yourself as some kind of a priest, eh?
I spoke of myself as a sacrifice, not a priest.
Armando, you are an incredible man. Incredible. But you would not recognize reality if it gored you between the eyes.
I guess it is my turn not to understand you. What are you talking about?
I ask you a simple question that only concerns money, and you give me a lot of mystical nonsense about fear, about death. Why can't you make yourself understand that you are giving the public a thrill that they could get in no other way?
I hope that isn't true.
But it is true. That is why the Mexicanos are willing to pay you so much to see a fight between you and Ramon Garcia. Would help your mind. Money will be fantastic.
Mira, you are hopeless. No matter what we talk about, we always come back to the same thing, money.
Well, what else offers so many options?
She doesn't understand.
According to this magazine, Stanley, we don't kiss enough.
Look, I get these cold sores. It hurts to kiss.
Start healing with Camphor.
Just a touch of medically effective Camphor instantly stops pain and cold sores. Helps speed healing by killing infectious germs and forming a protective Amanian shield.
Female or male.
That our scores
You know,
improved
that
since
you
a
have
week
a
ago.
calling for something. Calling
Stop
for
hurting.
singing
Start
or
healing with Camphor, the little green bottle
it's
for first
sometimes
aid.
hard to get a mate
Resurrected.
that understands that this is something you have
Smashing.
to
Go
do.
down.
Oh, how she
Go
looks.
down, right.
Action
Miller
combined
had the
with
right.
Dr. Maybelline. Like Ultra Big Ultra Lash Mascara. Smear-proof, smudge-proof, waterproof. So long, the longest-looking lashes stay with the thick of the action.
That's another thing.
Action-proof.
Keeps you looking good after the action, too.
Ultra Big Ultra Lash Mascara. Incredibly long-looking lashes without flaky fibers. From Maybelline.
Smashing.
Back to the story.
Going back and forth in time, we are quite often able to take mental pictures, emotional glances at our heroes, especially those of yesterday, as these men are doing, and as they remember and wonder.
Tell me, Senor Cody, what do you think of the festival this year?
Oh, I've seen better.
Oh, I like that in you. One who has always seen better. It gives you a great opportunity to avoid dealing with the present, and very often with the recent past. It offers you a great deal of safety, doesn't it?
Would you say that running in front of the bulls yesterday morning was the way to safety? The annual test of bravery.
Please, do not misunderstand, Senor Cody.
Please, Ernest.
Thank you, Ernest. Understand me, I do not doubt your courage, only your judgment. especially when we concern ourselves with the quality of this year's festival as compared to those of past years.
Obviously, the same could be said about matadors.
Really? Oh, waiter! More shrimp and beer for my amigo from America.
I know what you're getting at, Senor Flores.
Oh, please, you may call me Jose.
Jose, I know what you're getting at. Since we occupied this table 3 days ago, you've been trying to get me to say that Armando Paz was, and is, if he were still fighting, the best that ever used the flannel.
Perhaps.
Salud.
Salud.
Are you saying that I should forget about the great bullfighters in history, Manuel Rodriguez, Manolete, Joselito, Cagancho, Cacuna, on a good day, Arusa?
Well, not completely, but I have to say this honestly. On a good day, El Encanto would have given them all the bath. Oh, he was unique, absolutely alone on the face of the planet in his perfection.
With a plate of such excellent shrimp in front of us, Senor Jose.
Thank you.
I would find it very difficult to disagree too strongly with you. But aren't we forgetting someone?
Oh, who's that?
Ramon Garcia, Zamorano.
Oh, him.
Well, it was generally conceded by most knowledgeable bullfight fans that the matchup they fought in Mexico was a classic example of a lesser-known talent giving the master a taste of the medicine he used to offer.
Well, that's not true. I should know. I was there. Allow me to take the liberty of giving you the truth. That is, if you were not there yourself.
Well, I wasn't there. I was covering a war at the time.
That was unfortunate, because you were not present at an event that will always be a part of bullfighting history. I will tell you what happened.
Before you begin, waiter, 2 more of the same, please.
As I am sure you recall, there had been a great deal of agitation from the Garcia people for a face-to-face match, mano a mano. There were many who felt that El Encanto was, how do you say in English, coasting.
Oh, yes, coasting, taking it easy.
Yeah, I could never agree with that point of view. If you went to the corrida and saw Armando Paz, you were present at an event that carried extraordinary emotion. True, he lacked authentic competition, except for that fancy Dan Garcia, but he never coasted. The bulls would not permit it.
Why was the fight held in Mexico?
For the usual reason, my friend. Money. The Mexican impresario Vargas made a fantastic offer, as I understand it. At any rate, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, on a warm day, in the Plaza Mexico.
Matador Armando, be careful with this one. He hooks like a boxer with his left horn and looks smart enough to know Latin.
Run him again, Juan. Show me how he moves.
But we have already. I said again.
Are you the matador or am I?
You are, Armando. You are.
There were also a number of disloyal types who felt that Armando was not only coasting, but that he had lost his nerve, the urge to fight the bulls.
You used to ask me, Juanito, has there ever been another one like me? If you give me the truth, old man. I guess at 40, to his 20, I did see more. I know you've seen them all. Am I not unique in this art? I laughed at his arrogance and greed. But I always cautioned him about making comparisons. Every great matador is a divine manifestation of grace under pressure, created to purge us ordinary people of certain emotional problems. They are priests, these men, ones who perform honestly and with a strong sense of justice.
My manager, what a shrewd uncle that one was. He had bribed every major bullfight critic in Spain to promote the fight between El Encanto and myself. He had schemed in ways that I was not like to discuss even at this point in time. He did whatever was necessary to get me into the ring with El Encanto, and it was one of the great lessons in my life. The opening pass, capote, was Armando's strong point. The pass is called a Veronica. It's a supposedly named after a woman who wiped the sweat from the brow of our Lord on his way to be crucified. No one but Armando Paz could capture the tenderness of emotion in his cape. That uncle had something sacred in him.
The bulls were what you would call in English flag bulls.
Toros banderas.
Yes, toros banderas. Each one as large as this room, armed with horns as wide as your arms spread, faster than a racehorse over a short distance, and filled with a violent belief that he was the god of all that his strength and horns could encounter. Oh, senor, real bulls. Real bulls!
The beauty of his movement, the way in which he wrapped himself in his cape as he took his first bull away from the picador with the chiquilines, the cape flapping gracefully from one side to the other, almost caused me to applaud. I know I would have to dig deeply into myself for the performance needed to match his, if I wanted to have more contracts for the following season.
The first one, Churro, made a treacherous stab as Armando was making his last pass to Quite, slashing and jabbing with his left horn as Armando went down.
If you use a long-lasting nasal spray, you ought to check the package. If it has a big 12 on it, you're getting the longest-lasting relief you can get. You're using Duration nasal spray. Duration is different, because Duration has the longest-lasting nasal decongestant, so Duration gives you up to 12 hours of relief. That's up to 2 to 4 hours longer relief than most other long-lasting nasal sprays. Look for the nasal spray with the big 12 on it. Duration. The proof is on the package. The package with the big 12 on it. For occasional use only is directed.
For battery-operated devices you use often or for long periods of time, you need powerful batteries like Rayovac heavy-duty supercells from True Value hardware stores. I've had Summerall to suggest you use these long-lasting batteries in flashlights, toys, radios, cameras, and more. And they hold their power for months when they're not in use, so they're ideal for devices you only use occasionally. Get Rayovac heavy-duty supercell batteries from participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
I'm hooked on, you moving farther away from back in the story.
Most people say that the bullfight has 3 basic parts, and some say thousands of pieces. But all agree that death is always a prime ingredient for both the bull and the man.
Juan Pelé, Armando's peón de confianza, the oldest, the most experienced member of the squadrilla, saved him from a serious goring with one bold slap on the bull's nose. Oh, I have never seen a man move toward danger with such courage. Armando calmly picked himself up and rewarded Juan with a series of chiquilines antiguas that stole the breath from us. It was like watching a butterfly avoid the rush of a 2-ton truck.
It was as though the bull Churro, sensing that my mind was far away from the arena, far from the monstrous appetite of the crowd, dumped me out of the sun and threatened my life to remind me of what I was and what our purpose for being there was. I thanked Juan and Churro with one of the most grateful passes I could think of, the Chiquilina Antigua.
The complaint has always been made.
See, that he was not one to do a 3-ring circus full of passes.
Yes, not many beyond the basics.
Yes, I have heard that. And it was true on this occasion also. But we must make the distinction between the matador who only knows a few passes and the master who weaves a spell with a few threads.
My blood turned to fire when they began to scream for Armando to place his own banderillas. They knew it was something he never did. But on this occasion, he snatched the sticks from my hand, anger showing in his eyes and being asked to do so.
The elegance with which he broke the sticks in half on the barrera, the fence around the ring, strolled to the center of the arena as though heaven belonged to him and earth was too dirty for him to place his feet on, is something I shall never forget. You know how critical the Mexicanos can be when they judge the placement of the sticks. I mean, after all, they have Amalito Chico, Carnicerito de Mexico, Procuna, Narusa, among others to look back to. And this summer, Armando Paz and Encanto was added to that list. I cannot say more.
sitting in the places where bullfighting is discussed, such as this. See, in such places as this, throughout the world, we'll always speak of those 3 pairs of banderillas. In Mexico, they are called el Encanto sticks, los palos del Encanto. He placed 1 pair standing on the strip that circles the barrera. He placed another pair blind, that is to say, he sighted the bull for a charge, stood like a statue, and at the last second, fade to his left, and dipped the shortened sticks into the bull's neck while looking up at me.
At you?
Well, it seemed that way. It is an emotion that I later discussed with others. They say that they also felt that he was looking at them. Well, I am embarrassed to admit that my eyes were closed, and I did not witness the last pair. He sighted the bull, turned his back, and I am told by those who had the strength to watch, faked the bull to the right side of his body, and as the bull swept under his right armpit, placed the sticks.
Oh, that's impossible.
Oh, I know. As I said, I could not watch. I was so certain that the horn would be slammed into his back.
It's an impossible thing to do.
I have to smile even now when I think back to the dedication speech I made for Chua. And those who were close enough to hear my words to her at the barrera, they could not believe their ears. I could tell from the shock that their faces registered. I said to her, "To you, Mira Duran, I would like to dedicate this noble animal. I would like to dedicate it to you as a true representative of the beast that forces me to fight, to kill, to bleed, maybe someday to die." I remember the words of the dedication because I have rehearsed them for 2 days. Mira thanked me for my words with her usual cynical smile.
His domination of the bull was masterful. I have seen them all, the best. But this was like seeing it for the first time. At one point, as he dropped the bull's head with a left-handed natural and led the animal's face into the folds of the flannel, I had the illusion of seeing a man open a garden gate in slow motion. And during the course of his movement, as he slowly left the bull poised in one spot with a dazzling remate, he turned to us with a grave expression as though to say, "I am doing this for you. I, El Encanto, the only one in the world able to do this."
I hated him, and I loved him. I am told that a new record for fainting was set in the Plaza Mexico during the course of his faena. Found him a strange creature to watch. It all appeared to be a dream, the manner in which he led the bull past his body in a series of dream-like patterns as he casually studied the reactions of his audience. For long, slow moments, as he worked closer and closer to the horns, I felt myself being drawn into a brotherhood, one that only a few men on earth privileged to join.
You would not believe it. The stupid women who fainted in the plaza. And it was not much better on the men's side. See, of course he was great. But couldn't they see he was simply playing on their emotions?
She doesn't understand. She does not understand.
She's cold.
You know, there was this odd thing that we all understood about Armando, that he hated to make the kill, which, after all, is the final function of the matador.
Killer.
Yeah, exactly. We understood this about him. But in some strange way, this reluctance to kill made him a better killer.
Oh, now wait a minute. You gotta ease that one past me again. I missed something.
You see, his reluctance to kill made him want to do it and have done with it quickly. He was not one to hesitate when the moment arrived.
The moment of truth. That becomes an hour for some.
But never for Armando. Oh, he was a surgeon with the blade. The moment of truth was only for a moment.
Some invisible force pressed upon my shoulders as Churro staggered to his knees. I found myself kneeling in front of his horns, crying. As his blood spilled onto the sand, I felt some mysterious power was draining me. Somehow I could see myself through the bull's dying eyes. Armando the Rascal, they called me at one point, the thief of the orange groves, the crazy one who stalked full-grown bulls in the pastures at midnight with a torn shirt. I had never questioned what my role in life should be, what I might become, other than a bullfighter. And with Churro, I found myself asking that question.
People around me were out of their minds.
Churro was an unbelievable experience. I witnessed it, but I didn't believe my eyes. I also witnessed Armando's third-rate performance with the two bulls that followed. During the course of his first fight, he had been a god. A god, do you understand? And then, nothing, nada. With the two bulls that followed, he made stiff, half-hearted capework. His rhythm was jerky. I cannot describe the filth that was screamed at him. The public felt that he was cheating them. During the course of his first fight, I had been put in the shade. Now I walked in the sun. I showed them which one was number one.
It was unbelievable, truly. After having done so much with his first bull, one would think he was going to tear up the taurine world with the next two. It was not so.
To put it bluntly, Armando blew it in Mexico. He showed all of the signs that the afición needed to know that he was washed up. I don't know what happened to him. What does it matter? I will always be accused of causing him to make a poor show, no matter what. So, es la vida, ¿no?
Just between us.
Discover quality.
And discover good values, too, on everything you want for Easter at Ben Franklin. You'll find Easter baskets for $1 and up, and colorful Easter candies and stuffed animals to put in. Save on egg coloring kits, Easter cards, and gift wraps, too. All at your Ben Franklin store.
Discover Ben Franklin, where quality is right at home.
People are not married.
There's no other deodorant soap more effective than Dial.
And now, in the modern Europe, you really have, like, you gotta make your blue fighter, you go to the it's somewhat honorable, but
you'll be glad Dial's active deodorant ingredient keeps working all day long.
Leonard Nimoy again, and here's the fourth act of El Encanto, the story of Armando Paz, Matador.
I could never explain it, what had happened to him. He became a man at war with himself. He dragged me around with him nightly, into and out of the lowest dives of the city. He drank too much.
More wine for us, for my friend Juan, for me.
Armando, come, let us go home. We've had enough.
Yeah, you're right, Juanito. What sense does it make? We'll only be sorry later.
It was even rumored that he betrayed me with a dancer, Teresa Albatin. Oh, if I had found it to be true, I would have clawed her eyes out, and his.
Many of us in the profession thought that he had got the coleta, as we say, you know, that he had retired.
Yes, it is true. I have to admit it. I, Jose Bienvida Flores, aficionado número uno, fell into the trap of believing that Armando was, how shall I say it, washed up. If one had to be blunt about it, yes. I believed with many others that he was washed up, a memory. And then, one morning, an announcement mysteriously appeared on the posts and walls of the city. The announcement was that he would fight bulls from 6 of the greatest ranchos in España. A Mirura from Cabrera, a Paro Romero, a Domecq, one from De Los Gallardo, Vista Hermosa, and a Vista Villar. Soccer suddenly seemed much less important than usual.
I have to admit that I went to see him prepared to see someone who had once been great make a fool of himself. It was a real puzzle in my mind as to why he needed 6 superb bulls to show the world how bad he had become.
They were all mistaken. I had no need to prove anything. After my fight with Churro, there could not have been anything else. He was the bull of my life. It was also, in some rare way, the germ of a feeling that I had always concealed from myself. His death was my awakening.
Oh, yes.
Armando acted, well, let us say different towards me after Mexico. I cannot explain exactly what I felt in words. I could reach him no longer. Do you understand what I'm saying? We had always had differences of opinion, even from the beginning, but this was different. He was different. He would stay out half the night and go to the church next morning, every morning. It was like living with a person in 2 different worlds. So perhaps it was a Gemini in him, you know, the divided personality coming out.
I made a decision. The decision was to give the bulls one last chance. There were those who didn't understand. Mira didn't understand, but she never understood me very well anyway. Others called my decision arrogance or madness. I didn't feel it necessary to explain anything to them. I made my selection from the best ranchers because I was the best, and I wanted to fight the best one last time.
There was a slight breeze moving through the city on the day of the fight, but in the arena it was like a hurricane. The worst that could happen on the day of a fight, the wind. Armando joked about it.
A little fresh air to blow the cigar smoke and cheap perfume out of the arena, eh, Juan?
As a member of the profession, I tried to put myself in his position. I couldn't. I didn't want to see him gored or killed, but I was impatient for the fight to begin, for the public to see that Armando was a has-been.
Oh, the bulls. They were beautiful monsters. There is no other word I could use to properly describe them. Each one was fully grown, well-muscled and armed with horns that seemed to have room for cradles in between the tips. And he fought them with the calm, elegant charm that had made him famous. There was an element of something magical in what he did that afternoon. With the wind and the danger of escape or his muleta misbehaving, there were times when it seemed that the only possible development from what he was doing had to result in tragedy. But it did not. He ignored the wind and the cynicism of the crowd, and he offered himself to the bulls. Pedricinas on his knees, morenetes, monoletinas, afaralados with the left and the right hand, movements with his signature on them. He dedicated the bull to 5 other persons beside myself. I treasured the experience of having witnessed his triumph. It was almost religious.
He fought 6 of the most dangerous bulls in Spain, in the world. And he gave the money to charity. Can you imagine risking your life for nothing?
It was done. I had offered the best of them a chance and survived. I could go onward to what I knew would be a more satisfying life, a life that would grant my soul peace.
The conclusion of our story after this word.
One of the things I just
Ever drop a 20-inch wrench on your toe? This is Kurt Gowdy suggesting you get your feet into safety Red Wing. Lace boot, full on or Oxford, you'll get all the comfort Red Wings are famous for. If your feet need on-the-job protection, don't compromise. You've earned your wings. Safety Red Wings.
Even though this is a fictional story, he probably survived because of the way he's going to church.
Yeah.
Our anniversary, Charlie, and you're not eating. You're not talking.
My mouth hurts. I got canker sores.
On our anniversary? Oh, honey, stop hurting. Start healing with Campho-Phenique.
Just a touch of medically effective Campho-Phenique stops pain of canker sores instantly. Helps speed healing by killing infectious germs and forming a protective Amadian shield.
You're still not talking.
No, but I'm eating.
Stop hurting, start healing with Campho-Phenique.
The little green bottle full of first aid. Use only as directed.
Each of us has to face life somehow. Some of us only do it in the mirror, at the surface. Armando Paz went much deeper.
They scream for blood! 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 No, stop! Stop, please!
I was thinking of James Cagney and White Heat when he gets on the table.
I'm all right, Father.
Was it the bulls again, Father Paz?
No, not the bulls, Father. The crowd. It's never the bulls that cause me to have nightmares. It's always the crowd, the memory of the crowd. Once that it was.
Yeah.
From time to time I have this horrible dream of them charging me all together, the crowd charging me, howling, screaming at me.
I understand what you mean, Father Paz. I must admit I have been an aficionado all my life, and I recognize the beast you speak of.
Yes.
Shall we go to chapel to pray?
Yes. Yeah, I think that is a very good idea. I would like to give thanks for having escaped from the horns of the bulls and the public.
Father Paz, I have wanted to ask you, what do you think of this rivalry between Ramon Garcia, Soberano, and Diego Ordóñez?
They're in the monastery.
Well, I would like to say, to begin with, that neither of them is as good, well, Lord forgive me for my modesty, as good as I was. Ramon, with his great ego, shows...
They're going to pray, and they're talking about the bullfight.
Going to pray. Oh, yeah.
What's her name? Well, it takes a lot of fine names to make Sears names stand for quality. Names you've always counted on, like Kenmore, Craftsman, Easy Living, and Die Hard. Names that kids and moms cheer, like Winnie the Pooh and Toughskins. Names that are a part of your life today, like Permapress, Sing-Along, and Winter Tune. And, of course, they're Sears' best products in everything from T-shirts to tractors. What's in a name? Well, it takes a lot of truly dependable names to make our name. Sears Roebuck and Company.
Turtle Extra car wax that gives you more than just a shine. Turtle Extra, there's more than sunshine and raindrops out there. Howling wind, bitter cold, fierce heat, mud, pollution to protect against all that you need. Turtle Extra, the extra protection of polymers, the extra durability of silicones, give you extra hard shell protection. Probably more protection than you ever need. Turtle Extra, extra hard shell. Turtle Extra.
Your first terrible gore.
He might be good. Radio Theater.
So you play
5 nights a week at this time. Tonight's original radio play, Armando Paz, El Encanto, was written by Odie Hawkins and produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. Your host was Leonard Nimoy. Our stars were Larry Moss, Tommy Cook, and Jack Crucian. Featured in the cast were Stan Waxman, Lillian Baev, and Don Diamond. The music for Radio Theater was composed and conducted by Nelson Riddle. John Harlan speaking. Associate Director of Mutual Radio Theater is Ken McManus. Sound effects were created by Bud Collison. Mark Trella is Production Supervisor. Recording Engineer Al McDonald. Music Editor Lee Ringette. The Elliott Lewis production of Mutual Radio Theater is a presentation of CBI.
Mutual Radio Theater has been brought to you by Sears, a name that means quality and value.
All right.
Zola, would you please hold the cover of that book up again?
Yes, here's the cover of the book. And it's by Tony Gleason. He is the artist who drew both Matador and Negro Azucar 1 and 2. And he's an author as well. So, your website is www.odiehawkins.com.
Thank you.
And you can just Google Odie Hawkins to see the many accomplishments.
Well, okay, on that note, let's call an end to it and get back together next Monday.
Okay, to all of
approximately the same time, 7:30, 8 o'clock.
all those who enjoy the show, please put a like and make a comment if you like. And look forward to inviting you in to our home, from your home, next time. Bye.